speaker. We are so excited. If you're in line for dessert, that's okay, that's important. Just, just listen. Okay, we have a few announcements. Isaac from Alabama. If you are missing your wallet, we have it. Okay? All right, let's move on. Passports. Who has finished? Who's finished with their passport, gotten all of their signatures or stamps? Oh, we have somebody. All right, the rest of you, make sure you get your stamp. Evaluations. Please, if you don't mind, it's so much easier to complete your evaluations in the app as you go. So especially our first speaker, if you want to go into the app, find that speaker and go ahead and complete the evaluation of the survey. You can do that now, and as well as the first session that you went to. There is a QR code on your badge. Okay, we didn't want to give you information overload earlier today, but there's a QR code on your badge, and so if it is called okay, anyway. So the folks outside, if they have that piece of equipment, they can scan this and they will get your information. So instead of you writing it down on a piece of paper or anything, there should be someone out there, if they have the equipment, and it's called Capture, and they can scan it and get your information so that you can contact each other a little bit later. Tomorrow morning, there will be an opportunity to join one of the committee meetings. The Communications and Diversity Subcommittees will be meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30. If you're not already on those committees, that's okay. Come on in and weigh in and give us your opinion. In this room tomorrow morning at 7:30. The chairs for communication is Sean Huck, and the chair for the diversity meeting is our incoming president-elect, Dr. Wanda Thomas. With that being said, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our next speaker. It's Dr. Dale Okorodudu, and he is an author. So if you have your book with you, get him to sign it. Get him to sign it. I got him to sign mine and my scholars. And so I'd like to show a short video.
Hey, welcome back. Our next guest is a doctor who helps people every day at his job, but he's going beyond that.
He's made it his mission to help shape the next generation of medical professionals.
My name is Dr. Dale Okorodudu. I am the founder of Black Men in White Coats, and I'm a pulmonary and critical care physician practicing at the Dallas VA Medical Center.
Houston native Dale Okorodudu always knew he wanted to be a doctor.
I absolutely love what I do. There are very few jobs in the world where I think you kind of get most of what you want in one package.
A 2012 report highlighted decreasing number of black men in medicine hit home for Dale as he was noticing a lack of diversity among his fellow physicians.
There are numbers as low as 2% of all physicians are African American males in medicine. If you don't have very many black males in medicine, for you to see, for you to emulate, for you to get mentorship from it becomes difficult.
Dale wanted to change those statistics and started a mentorship program called Black Men in White Coats with the goal of helping the next generation of doctors.
There's this belief that as a black man, you can't go talk to a physician, and often that you can't go up and talk to a black male physician, but women in white coats is helping to shatter that belief.
Over the past 6 years, the program touching the lives of hundreds of young black men and women, also inspiring other doctors to offer their words of wisdom.
My father taught me that you can be unapologetically black and be unapologetically excellent.
And so is the white coat is like a red cape. To be able to walk into a situation or walk into a room and people look towards you for answers, and for them to know that I'm on their side.
For Dale, he says asking for help is the first step towards success.
Nobody is self-made. Everybody has somebody who helps them. If you want to be successful, find that person who's going to help you.
Joining us now is the founder of Black Men in White Coat, Dr. Dale Okorodudu, and one of his current mentees, fourth-year medical student Aaron Doctor.
All right, man, I'm super excited to be here. So excited, man. You guys don't understand how excited I am. We've been talking about this for quite some time, about coming up here, speaking to you guys, and it's been in my mind, and I've been thinking about it, want to talk to you guys about it, and I'm excited to deliver a great message. Before I do that, I'm called to do honors and whom honors due, so I'm going to ask everybody to give a round of applause to our organizers here at this table. Put their hands up, put their hands up, put their hands up, put their hands up. There you go, yes, there you go. Mimi, Michelle, Anna, everybody. Dwayne, Jennifer. All right, so we'll clap for them, but one more round of applause before I really get going. So I'm fully aware as to the type of people who are in this room. I'm fully aware of the work you do, your heart, your efforts, and the blood, sweat, and tears that go into what you do. So I'm going to ask you guys to give yourselves a round of applause, because a lot of times it's a thankless job. It's a thankless job. You're probably going to hop off the stage and actually do a lot of walking on the floor as well, so that's a lot of questions. So a couple weeks ago, I was trying to figure out what am I going to talk to you guys about? What kind of message can I deliver that's going to be impactful? Usually people call me up and we talk about black men and white coats. By the way, who's seen the documentary? Hands up high, who's seen the documentary? Did you like it? Good. So that's actually more people than I thought, so I appreciate you guys watching it. But usually people say, hey, Dr. Dale, come talk to us about black men and white coats. Come talk. I have a lot of books, so come talk to us about this book and that book and that book. And that's all great, that's fine. However, for me, it's much more impactful if I can meet you guys where you're at in your journey, right? It's much more impactful for me if I can equip you or empower you with something you can take with you after the event, rather than just hearing the stats and the data about black men and white coats. So I had an opportunity to talk to your leaders a couple weeks ago. I was trying to figure out what would be the best thing, and there was one thing, I don't know who said it, I thought it was me, but I don't know who said it, but there was one thing somebody said right at the end of the call, my man, somebody said it, right at the end of the call, we're about to get off, and I felt a sense of urgency when they said it. I could tell it was something important. They said, you know what, Dr. Dale, there is one thing that many of us do kind of feel pressure, kind of struggle with. So many of us are at our institutions, we're working so hard, we're grinding it out, we're trying to make a difference. However, we feel as though we're not getting that backing, that support. We feel as though people aren't really necessarily always on our side. It makes it challenging for us to accomplish the mission at hand. Whether it's increasing diversity, giving more primary care doctors, whatever it is, it makes it challenging. That's something that bothers me, Dr. Dale. So I heard that, and when I heard that, immediately I knew I had to change what I was going to talk about. Right? I want to talk to you guys more about moving mountains. Has anybody in this room felt that way before? What I just described, has anybody felt like that before? A lot of hands. I've felt like that before. Right? I'm going to go back a couple of days. I'm going to feel like that in a couple of days when I go back to my institution. Even though my institution is great. So I want to talk to you guys about moving mountains. Here's a quiz question. I flew to Utah last night. I didn't realize, I should have known, kind of dumb of me. But it didn't occur to me there's going to be mountains all around us, right? All around us. It didn't occur to me until I woke up and I opened the hotel window. There's a big mountain there, right? So, quiz question. What's the biggest mountain in the world? Everest. Got it right. How tall is it? Tall. Somebody said tall. It's about 30,000 feet. 30,000 feet. So one thing I remember on the plane, I got up yesterday on the plane, we're flying high. I remember the pilot said we're flying at a cruising altitude of 34,000 feet. So that's just barely grazing the top of Everest. Here's a harder question. How much does it weigh? If anybody gets this, I gotta give you a gift if anybody gets this. I heard a lot. Yeah, so it's estimated that Everest weighs about 350 trillion tons. 350 trillion tons. I was thinking about that and I couldn't even begin to fathom what that means. I don't know what that means, right? I couldn't comprehend it. So I started trying to find different ways to comprehend it. And I said, well, is that more than all the human beings in the world? All the humans in the world jumped on a scale, how much do we weigh? Right? So I did that calculation, that's estimated. That's only between 1 and 1.5 trillion. Right? So compare that to Everest. That's how big this thing is. I emphasize this for one reason specifically. When we're talking about moving mountains, that's what I want you guys to think about. That's the magnitude of the work that we're doing. That's the weight of it. Right? When we're talking about increasing diversity in the field of medicine, diversity in healthcare, getting rid of healthcare disparities, that's the magnitude that it feels like to me at least. It feels like it's trying to move Everest. Sometimes things aren't moving and you're grinding out, you're pushing, and nothing's happening. So one day, boom, it moves a little bit. You get excited about that. That's what I felt like a couple of years ago with Black Men and White Coats. So Black Men and White Coats, we've been doing work for almost a decade or so. And then we put the documentary out that you guys saw, which I was very thrilled with that documentary. But the cool thing about that documentary is we put it out, the numbers of black men in med school, going to med school was in the low 600s. We put it out, screened across the whole entire country, right, by med schools, everybody. I do all sorts of Q&As with deans, presidents, all that type of stuff. We challenge them, just accept one more black male to your class this year. We made that challenge to all these people. The next year, the number goes up by almost 150%, right? So I felt that, granted, I'm not taking big credit for that. There's a lot of people doing great work, right? So I'm not saying that that's all the work that we're doing. But that's one of those moments where I felt like, wow, the mountain just moved. The mountain just moved, right? And I understand a lot of you are in your institutions, you're trying to move a mountain. So I'm going to give you guys some stuff to think about today. I'm going to ask you guys some questions to challenge you guys to get going moving your mountain. All right, so here's how I want to do it. Who has a cell phone with me? Every hand didn't go up though. Right? So everybody's got a cell phone. Here's what I want to do. I want you guys to bring out your cell phone and open up your text message app. Open up your text message app. It'll make sense at the very end. It's going to make sense at the end. Bring out your cell phone, open up your text message app. I'm gonna ask you to write some of these questions down in the text. Don't send it, just write it down in the text, okay? So the first question is, what's my purpose? Write down what's my purpose in the text. Just leave it there. We're gonna ask some more questions on it. All right. When you're going to move mountains, you have to know what you're doing. You have to have a purpose behind what you're doing. You have to have a why behind it. Because you're gonna get into these situations where things are just gonna be so difficult for you that you're gonna wanna quit. My purpose came for me, well, my purpose, the genesis of it was probably when I was a junior in college. So I was a junior in college, I was a pre-medical student, and I was leaving, I went to school in Mizzou, so I was going to St. Louis to fly to Chicago to my cousin's wedding. So I get to the airport, I'm excited, right? I get to go see my cousin get married, and it's wintertime, I'm young, probably 20, 21 years old, and back in the day, the way we dressed, I was wearing big, baggy sweatpants, and I had a big hoodie. I still dress like that, right? But that's the way people of my age, my generation used to dress when it's cold as Missouri. So I get on the plane in Southwest Airlines. So I'm walking over to my seat, right? Free seating. I'm walking over to my seat, and I get my seat, right? Nobody's in my room. I'm super excited. I get to find this all by myself. I get the whole room to myself. I sit down, and I do the key trick, right? If you guys haven't flown Southwest and you don't know the trick to get your own space, here's what you gotta do. You sit down, and you just look down. You put your bag in the seat next to you. And you just stare down, right? So I'm staring down. I'm just waiting, man. I'm staring down, just hoping nobody's gonna come sit next to me. And I'm waiting for the pilot to say, prepare for takeoff, right? Because when they say that, that's my cue to look up, but it's not happening. So finally, I'm like, man, what is going on? Why is it taking so long? So I look up. I don't know, mistake of my life. I look up, and boom, I lock eyes with this woman. She gives me this. A little point. And the seat next to me is, man, right? So I'm like, sure, whatever. I move my bag, I put it under the seat. I'm a nice guy, you know, I like to have conversations and stuff. So she comes and sits next to me. The plane takes off, we get going, she starts talking to me. Only thing is that the communication is not what I thought it was going to be. She's talking to me, she starts asking me strange questions. First question she asked me is, why do you dress like that? I'm like, why do I dress like what? Why are you wearing these big, baggy clothes, hoodie stuff? And you know, I bet you're one of those guys, your pants probably sag, you walk around saying, yo, doggy, doggy, doggy. You wouldn't know that, aren't you? I'm like, mind you, I'll lose it is, right? I'm like, no, man, you know, it's wintertime, it's cold outside, I'm wearing sweats. And this is how I dress. All right, go back to studying, I had a book I was studying. She, you know, takes a break, comes back to me again for the verbal assault. Why do you talk like that? Mind you, I'm not even really talking, but why do you talk like that? I'm sorry, man, I know what you're talking about. You think you're cool, yo, talking with that, the way you talk, you hip-hop kids or whatever. I'm just thinking, man, this is just the way I talk. I'm not sure, I have no idea what you're talking about, this is the way I talk. All right, go back, trying to ignore her now. A little bit later, she says, what are you reading? I'm a professor, I'm studying. Oh man, I'm studying chemistry. Are you studying to be a drug dealer? Somebody said, are you serious? Yes. That's what I thought. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, are you serious? But it's a true story. And finally, she said the one thing that really stuck with me, and this is perhaps the thing that kind of ignited my purpose to the point of all the work that we do today. I'm sitting there, she looks at me. It's almost as if she's kind of trying to make a summation of who I am. And she says, do you think anybody's ever going to take you seriously? And that completely blew my mind. She didn't know who I was. That's just based on the fact of the way I looked. And maybe the way I talked, right? The way I spoke. I remember getting off the plane, my parents came to pick me up, and I remember asking my mother, is this what people think when they see people that look like me? Right? Particularly black men. This is what people think when they see people who look like me, they're never gonna be successful. And that was the genesis of my purpose in the work that I do. After that day, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I can to make sure people don't view other young black gentlemen the same way and hinder their opportunities. Little did she know, I was a straight A student. She had no idea she was sitting next to a kid who made straight A's. She had no idea she was sitting next to a kid who had just got accepted to med school just shortly before that. She had no idea who she was talking to, yet she felt the need, or she felt the privilege that she could criticize me without knowing who I was. But that was the genesis of my purpose. And I tell that to you guys because I want you guys, in your own stories, as you're looking to move your own mountains, to think back to a time. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, it can be a positive thing. But all of us have had journeys and stories, and there's some purpose, something that will trigger a purpose for the reason we're doing the work we do. You guys are all here for a reason, right? There's something that made it. So hold on to that purpose and figure out what that purpose is for you. Here's a way to evaluate what your purpose might be. When you get home to your hotel room tonight, or if you live here to your house, when you buy yourself, open up your bank account and look to see where all your money's going. See, where are you spending your money? There's a wise verse that says, where your treasure is, there also will be your heart be, right? So where is your money going? Where's your money going? I know a lot of you guys spend time, spend money, energy to come here to this. So this tells me that hopefully for a lot of you, this is part of your work, your life's work, your purpose, right? So that's a good, simple way to evaluate what's my purpose. Just be honest with yourself. Okay, I'm spending X amount of money doing this, doing that. Is that moving me towards my purpose and the impact that I want to have in this world before I get off this planet? There's a story about a guy, say Middle East, I don't know where, but a guy, he was walking along down a path outside, just walking along. He sees three other guys. He comes across the first guy. The guy's on his knees, just laying bricks. He says, hey, what are you doing down there? Oh, nothing. I'm just laying some bricks, trying to make some money to feed my family. That's cool, nothing wrong with that. He walks a little bit further down. He sees another guy who's a little bit higher up. He's working a little bit more aggressive, laying some more bricks. Hey, what are you working on there? I'm just putting these bricks down for this building, just trying to build a building. He walks a little bit further down, sees another guy who's standing up tall, just stacking bricks, working twice as hard as everybody else. He says, hey, what are you doing? I'm building a cathedral. I'm building a place of worship for the Almighty. You see the difference in your purpose and the work you're doing. All right. So this is a way to approach every day when you go to work, every day, no matter what you're doing. You think, what is the end game? What is the big thing that I'm trying to do with my life? It's not just, hey, I'm going to work to teach kids today in class. Approach every day with that mindset, with that purpose. What is it that you want to do? Now, I'm going to actually ask somebody who's brave enough to answer the question in front of everybody. Right? Here's a question I ask. So I do a lot of stuff. I have coaching programs and publishing programs that I do, and I coach doctors and nurses and such, how to self-publish and become speakers and things of that sort, right? Now, I always ask them this question. I say, what do you want to be the best at in the world? What do you want to be the best at in the world? I'll tell you, I want to be the world's best developers of leaders in healthcare, leaders in medicine. That's what I do. Everything I do might seem like Dr. Dale's doing diversity work, but I'm not really doing diversity work. I'm developing leaders. That's what I do. That's the work that I do. Right? I want to be the single best person in the world doing that. So what do you want to be the single best person in the world at? Who's bold enough to answer that? My brothers. See, right. Stand up and say your name, and we're gonna give you a big round of applause for being brave enough to do it. I'm gonna ask for another one or two, so y'all whoever else is brave, I'll be thinking about it.
It's Dom. Oh God.
Okay. I want to be the best cycle breaker in my family so that I can provide the best life for my daughter.
Yeah, we guys do. I wasn't expecting that. That's deep. You took it to a whole nother level. You took it to a whole nother level. Yeah. Let me get another one. Okay. And this is something that you guys literally should be thinking about. If you want to be the best version of yourself, these are questions to literally ask yourself. Take the time with yourself to do this.
I'd like to be the best version I can of following Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. So these are questions, and when I think about my great friends, I mentioned, to the organizers here at the table that tomorrow I'll go hang out with one of my mentors and friends. He's from Dallas, but he has a place in Park Cities. And these are the things that when I meet with him, I discuss, right? He's a highly successful gentleman, right? So these are the things that we discuss. This is how they think. people who actually make changes, people that move things, people that move the mountains. These are the questions that they sit down and they ask themselves. Anybody know who this gentleman is? Oh, did you want to answer? Okay. So we'll do one more. It's okay. Mike Runner? Okay.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This is a very special one for all of us. Okay, anyway, since I have this like huge laundry list of all my purposes over the years, so I'm gonna just like make them out of one. So that one purpose is to be the best at fulfilling a purpose that's greater than myself.
Oh, that's tough. I like that. I love it. It's, answering these questions are very uncomfortable, right? Because we're in healthcare. They don't teach us to do these things, right? They don't teach you to do these. I'll tell you who knows how to do these things, the CEO of your institution, right? He or she, they're doing these things, right? But they don't teach the rest of us how to do these things, right? Anybody know who this individual is? Say it louder, please. Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister, very special gentleman. So back in the day, I don't know when, you might know, probably early, before 1950s or so. So back in the day, I think it was actually a medical school that did this sort of medical doctor. So this gentleman, he had a mission, he had a purpose. And his goal was to be the first person in the world to run underneath 4-minute mile. 4-minute mile. When people hear that story, they normally think, oh, he wants to be the fastest person in the world. That's his purpose, that's his goal. But that was not his purpose or his goal. His purpose was to do something that people thought was impossible. His purpose was to move a mountain. And he did it, practice. He was the first person in the world to ever run underneath a 4-minute mile. Things like that are the way we need to approach ourselves. What can we do? How can we do something that somebody thought was impossible? Create a new paradigm for everybody. And that's what's necessary, especially if you're trying to increase diversity in healthcare and get rid of healthcare disparities. So know your purpose and show up every day with your purpose. All right, another question. Somebody tell me, what are some benefits of diversity? Benefits of diversity in healthcare. Just shout them out.
Better care is provided.
Better care provided. New ideas. Representation. What else? There's a million. Give me a couple more.
All groups.
All groups. I didn't hear that last one. Improve health outcomes. Justice. A lot of amazing stuff, right? The thing, when I started doing work around diversity, I remember talking to some folks who said, Dale, go ahead and do that, but their thought was, it's really not going to matter. It's really not going to matter because at the end of the day, people really don't care, right? People really don't care. People really don't think this is going to make a difference. You're going to go talk to deans, but they're just going to try to meet their quotas, and they don't really care about all these benefits that you guys just listed. But I'm finding that's not actually true. I'm finding that people actually do care in a sense. Right? So a billion benefits of diversity. One of the coolest things, I don't know if you guys saw the study, one of the coolest studies just came out was a study saying that counties that have more black primary care physicians, actually there's increased life expectancy in those counties for everybody, which is crazy. That's a crazy study. It's amazing, right? So there's actually good data behind this. So here's my question to you guys, right? So we all know the benefits of having diversity within an institution. So my question to you is, what makes you diverse? Put that in your phone. That's the next thing. Type that in your phone for text. What makes, and so you say, what makes me diverse? What makes you diverse? So when we think about that word, what makes you diverse, really what I'm asking you guys is, what makes you unique? What makes you special? So all of us work in an institution, at your local institution, what makes you unique amongst everybody else there? Why were you hired for that position that you got hired for? One of the things that really bothers me is people, they go off and they get interviewed and they say, when I get here, these are my special qualities, my special characteristics, I'm going to bring all these great things to your organization. And you get hired, and then you completely conform, right? We completely conform to the organization. And we forget all those great things that made us unique, that made us special, all those things that we're going to do to change the whole environment and to just make everything completely different. I think when I got to medical school, one of my best friends is an orthopedic surgeon now, his name is Steve. He got to med school, and he's larger-than-life personality, right? He came to med school, he had these big braids hanging around everywhere. And we got the first day of class in our group, one of the deans says, by the time you're a third-year medical student, you're going to cut your hair. And Steve, if you know Steve, Steve's not that guy, right? He's got a big tattoo on his back that says, "Doing it my way." Right? Take shirts and say, "Do it my way." Right? He grew up in Kansas City, rough areas, right? So he's not that guy who's just gonna conform and do anything. And I'm not saying Steve conforms, that's not who he is, but his hair was gone. Third year med school. And that's what I see happening day in and day out, right? We come to these situations, we have such grand ideas, we're gonna change this, we're gonna change that, and then we get some resistance and then we're pressured to conform. I was speaking to a dean of diversity, former dean of diversity recently, and she recently quit her job because she was in that situation where she felt as though she couldn't express her gifts, she couldn't use her talents to move mountains. So my question to you guys is, and if I got one or two takers, what makes you unique as it pertains to your role in healthcare? What makes you unique? Who's got an answer for that? Michael? I'm going to ask for more answers because out of all of you guys can't tell me there's nothing that makes you guys unique, right? We have to have things that are unique about us to make us, if we want to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. He'll get you. He's going to her right there. He'll get you. Tell us what makes you unique and how you can use that towards your purpose.
I burned out in my job as a nurse and was hospitalized for PTSD, and now I get to tell my story of recovery to people who are also learning to embrace their humanity as helpers.
I love it. Clap it up. Right there.
Humor.
How do you use that towards your purpose?
Just make everybody happy, or try to.
I love it.
Lighter side to everything.
I love it. Give him a round of applause. Here's what I believe. I believe that all of us have God-given gifts, right? I believe that we're all gifted. We all have gifts in certain areas and we should leverage, we should use those areas. When I was a kid, it's funny, I talked about the airplane, but when I was a kid, people really thought I couldn't talk, right? So they thought I couldn't speak. So when I was probably about my boys' ages, they would put me in these classes to go speech training and learn how to say words right, learn how to speak right, and kids would tease me about saying words the wrong way. Say, "Oh, you can't talk right." That's one thing that made me unique as a kid. They said I couldn't speak right. Another thing is my name, last name Corey, right? I'm fully aware there's doo-doo in my name. I'm fully aware. You can laugh at it, it's okay. Trust me, been there, done that, right? And these guys, they got to go through it now, so you have to write a passage on it. But I'm fully aware. So when you're a kid, and people might, I don't want to get picked on for it too much, but when you're a kid and people might try to poke at it, now as an adult, I realized those are two things that make me unique. I get picked to fly the country and speak now, and said I couldn't talk right before, right? Now people see my last name, and the last name stands out to them. They don't forget it. These things give me more opportunity in life. So think about the things that make you unique. You know, that PTSD example just that was perfect, right? So something that people could look down on you for, take that and make it something powerful that you can change, and now you get to transform lives. You get to move those mountains. So figure out what are the gifts, what are the things that are making me unique that I can now implement and make big change for other people's lives. That's what it's all about. I got a video for you here.
My name is Bailey Loving. I'm a first-year medical student here at the University of Colorado. I'm doing really well in classes. I'm just at the end of my first year, so there's still a lot to learn. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. We moved around a lot. My dad does electrical work. In high school, it was the aggressive atmosphere of an urban society. Everybody was either black or brown. It was like you have to be hard, you have to be a certain way in order to fit in or be respected. Fights almost every single day. I just thought this was what the world makeup was. My siblings and I knew respect. We knew not to do certain things, but we also knew that our parents loved us. I was always a smart kid in my class, so I never really had to try in order to get good grades. And then I got to the University of Denver, And I was like, wow, I don't know anything. I was really scared that I wasn't smart enough. The pivotal moment where I knew that I actually could become a doctor was when I started buckling down and started to take my education more seriously and not squander my gift of intelligence.
Orientation day. Yeah.
Coming in, I had an automatic association of other groups of people, white people, as somebody that will never understand me and that I'll never see eye to eye with. That quickly changed and my worldview expanded. I am the only black male in my class. That should speak to the lack of African American males in healthcare. Currently at CU, minorities are underrepresented. This school is undergoing a lot of change right now in order to bring diversity to medicine. I'm one of the co-presidents of White Coats for Black Lives. I think it's important to have topics of race and inequalities integrate and melt into everyday conversation. People assume that there is not healthcare disparities. Like, you wouldn't imagine the restriction of access to healthcare that African American people have or other minorities. I have such a fear of disappointing others and such a fear of making myself and me being the only black male, what I represent, look bad. It's unfair that all of that burden is placed on me, but nevertheless, all of that burden is placed on me at certain times. And it gets to be a lot. The challenges that I faced all shaped who I am now. You can do anything that you put your mind to. A lot of people out there are saying, oh, that's naive. Other people know exactly what I'm talking about. It is self-confidence and a lifetime of self-confidence. I wake up knowing that I'm doing something that I should be doing. I feel like medicine is my destiny. I feel like it's my purpose in life. I believe that I can change the world. My name is Bailey Loving. I'm a black man, and one day I will wear a white coat.
So that young man is very impressive. So Bailey Loving, University of Colorado. He went to a high school that no longer exists. They shut it down. That's how bad the school was. I love the things he said in that video. He said a few things that really stood out to me. He thought he couldn't relate to anybody. He was scared by the life of apostle syndrome, a lot of things like that. But I love the way he finished it. Right? He finished it talking about, essentially, for lack of better terms, he pretty much said nothing is going to hold me back. Nothing is going to stop me. I believe that I can change the world. He must be 23, 24 years old at the time of that video. And here he is saying he can change the world. That's something that sometimes when you're young, you believe. When we get older, and eventually we're like, we can't do it, and we kind of lose that feeling. Let's not lose that feeling. He's actually a neurosurgery resident now. So he went from people thought he wouldn't make it to he's about to be a neurosurgeon. All right, so next question for you, to go on your phone, your text. What's holding you back? Just write, what is holding you back? What is holding you back? The real question here is it you or is it the system? And I'll explain what I mean by that. There's a gentleman, his name's Eric Thomas. Some of you guys are probably familiar with Eric Thomas. I was on this little session and had a call with him, and I actually asked him a question a couple weeks ago. I was talking about black men and white coats. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a personal struggle that I have. This is a real struggle for Dale. This is a real struggle for me in my life. Right? I do a lot of work around this topic of black, and I do a lot of work around the topic of diversity. But I'm more than diversity, right? I'm more than just a black man. There are a lot of things in life that I want to do. There's a lot of things I want to get out of this box, right? So I was talking to UT and I said, you know, I'm struggling with this, I got this black and white coat thing, that brain kind of really boxes me in and locks me in, so that I'll be able to do some of the other things that I want to do. And he stopped and said, Dale, are you boxing yourself in, or somebody else boxing you in? So who's boxing you in? You're trying to tell me something's holding you back. Is that something that's holding you back? Is it you, or is it something else? Right, so that's my same question to you guys. All of us have something that's holding us back. Is it you, or is it something else? And I'll tell you, they're both real things. So it's not, I'm not saying that, hey, there's nothing that can't hold you back. There are real things that can hold us back. One of my favorite books of all time is Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. Up From Slavery, Booker T. Washington, phenomenal guy, you know, slave, became free, ended up being the president of Tuskegee, HBCU down in Alabama. In this book, there's he talks about the Atlantic Compromise. This is a real thing, the Atlantic Compromise. There's a speech that he gave at that point in time. And he gave this speech, told the story. And the story basically is, there's a crew, they're out at sea, sailing around at sea, and then they've been out there forever, it's hot, they're running out of supplies, running out of food, and you're getting thirsty. So he starts to radio in, say, Mayday, Mayday, send us some help, we're dying of thirst. The response comes back, cast down your bucket where you are. They send another SOS. Mayday, Mayday, we're dying of thirst. It's hot out here. We have no supplies. Cast down your bucket where you are. Mayday, you have to send us some supplies. We're thirsty. We have no water. You're in the ocean. Cast down your bucket where you are. You guys get it? That's us in life sometimes. That's us in life sometimes. Sometimes we're struggling, we're not able to overcome these obstacles, these various things. We want to move these mountains. We say, we don't have enough help. When in reality, sometimes we just need to cast down our buckets where we are. Sometimes we just need to take a look around. We actually have everything that we need all right around us. Another great book called Acres of Diamond. It's the same exact. If you guys haven't read these books, I highly recommend Up From Slavery, Acres of Diamond. Right? Same exact concept. We go around the whole world trying to find diamonds, trying to find ways to get rich, trying to do all these things, when more often than not, everything we need is right here with us. Right? So don't be the one to hold yourself back. I'll get to that in a second. This is something important. I've never really explained this on stage. This is going to be the first time I'm talking about this in public on stage. I have a new book coming out. It'll come out in a couple months. I actually wrote about this in the book. Somewhat of a hot topic, but I'm gonna do my best to explain this. I talked about it in the documentary. This idea, I believe that systemic racism is a real thing, right? I believe it's a real thing. And I get flack for that sometimes, and I don't know whether or not you guys agree with it. I'm gonna explain my general thought as to how that works, why I believe it's a real thing. In life in general, you're going to help the people who are closest to you, right? So if this room catches fire right now, hey, I like all y'all, but I'm grabbing my boys first and we're getting out of here, right? This is the way it is. After that, you know, I've talked to them, so I'm probably gonna put them on the boat next with me, right? Because I've got a relationship with them, right? and that's the way it is. That's real life, right? So the way things work in real life is you help the people who are closest to you. That's just the way it works. That's just the way it works. So if you think about, you know, how this nation, not even this nation, matter of fact, I'll do this. I'm gonna say, let's think about a tribe in Africa. I'm Nigerian. Let's think about a tribe in Nigeria, right? Even within that tribe, the first person we're gonna help are people in my direct immediate family. After that, there's people that I'm gonna give my resources to, teach the game, the system to, are the people who live next door to me, right? Because in order for me to do well in life, I want my neighbors to do well. After that, next people I'm gonna teach the people in the next village over. So pretty much we help the people that we're in closest proximity to, right? And when you're in a society like this, the way the history of America and such, that just turns out to be, it all falls down to race. And that's what systemic racism is to me. So the issue is when people hear these things about systemic racism, sometimes people think, oh, you're saying that it's intentional, it's purposeful, and maybe it's not, but that's not what I mean when I'm talking about systemic racism. It doesn't have to be intentional, but it is a real thing. So I say that to say, whenever we talk about what's holding us back in life, there are systems. There are systems that hold us back in life, and these are real things. And the key to moving the mountain is learning how to manipulate these systems, is learning to understand these systems. I've got something for you guys. I'm gonna give you guys 30 seconds here to do this challenge. Okay, I'll show you what I'm gonna do here. So, this is a chart, 1 through 100, right? There's 100 numbers, 1 through 100. What I'm gonna do here in a second is I'm gonna ask you guys to find all the numbers, right? So find 1, then 2, then 3. Find it in that row, okay? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds, and then I'm gonna see how you guys did. Set time for 30 seconds. Go. You're all there, I promise. All right. So, did anybody find up to 15? Hands up high. Stand up if you found up to 15. If you got 15, stand up. All right, 20. Stand up if you got up to 20. You can't keep going through your hand. 25. 30. How many did you get? Okay, that's it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. So this is my point exactly. He knows the system. That's the point. He knows the system, right? So I'll tell you the system. This is real life. So again, whenever you go back to your organizations or whatever you're trying to do here, and you're trying to move all this stuff, and things aren't going the way you want, you hoping to bang your head on the wall, you keep it against the goal, and nothing's going the way you want it to go. A lot of times it's because you don't know the system, right? When somebody comes in, tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, let me teach you the system. So let me show you the system. It's 4 quadrants. If you start in the top left quadrant, you're going to find number 1. Next quadrant, you find number 2. Next quadrant, 3, 4. And that's the way it goes. That's the system. You start in one quadrant, you work your way around. Now, let's try this again. I'll give you 30 seconds. Set timer for 30 seconds. And go. Give you guys a boost. Five, 4. All right. Now, who got up to 20? Stand up if you got 20 this time. All right, stay standing if you got 30. 40. Oh, 50. Down to 2. 55. 60. How many you got? 65. Give it up. Clap it up for these kids. Understand the system. Learn the system. That's how you move things. All right. I got a couple more things here. So next thing is, who's on your championship team? So this is the question. You don't have to text this one. You don't have to put it in text. But the question for yourself, who's on your championship team? Right? So often, we ask the wrong question. When we want to do big things, like we so often ask the wrong question. It took me a long time to figure this out. So often we ask how, when we should be asking who. Right? How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? When the real question should be, who can help me do this? Who knows this? Right? That's what we should be asking. So ask yourself, who's on your championship team? You know, big basketball fans here. So I think about the Redeem team back in, I forgot what year it was, 2008 or something like that. The Redeem team. So you had the Dream team back in the day. They had the U.S. Olympic team basketball. They lost. And after that, they had to regroup, figure out what they were going to do. So they went out and brought Kobe Bryant to the team. They put him on the championship team. The impact one person can have in making a difference. The impact that one person can have in making a difference in your life and really propelling you where you want to get to. I'm going to just mention one person that everybody needs to have on their team. One person. And that's a mentor. A mentor. So the story of mentor, I don't know if who knows this, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all where the term mentor comes from, right? It's from the Odyssey. That's the Statue of Odysseus. A lot of us read the Odyssey when we were in high school or something. And in the Odyssey, you got this guy Odysseus. He's going on this long journey, this long epic voyage. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna save the day, right? But he's got one problem. What's his one problem? The problem is that he's got his kid, Telemachus. He's like, man, I can't take my kid out there. We got dragons and fights and all sorts of stuff out there. I can't take my kid out there. It's too dangerous. So what am I gonna do? Got an idea. Runs over to his buddy's house, knocks on the door, knock. Hey, mentor. That's his buddy's name. His buddy's name is Mentor. Hey, mentor, I'm going on this long journey. I'm gonna go slay the dragons, fight the cyclops, slay the beasts, and I'm gonna save the day. While I'm gone, can you look after my kid and raise him, train him the same way that I would if I were here? Right? That's where the term mentor comes from. So when you think about what that really means, that's deep. He said, I'm leaving. I'm gone. Right? I might not come back. Can you be the one to make sure that Telemachus is okay? Be the one to make sure that he's successful, that he gets everything done the way that I would get it done if I were here, right? That's a huge responsibility. When I say you need a mentor, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of us, we use the term mentor, say, oh yeah, I'm mentoring 50 kids. You're probably not really mentoring 50 kids, right? I mean, you're advising, you're counseling, all those things in which are super important. But it's different from what the initial term mentor is meant to mean. Funny thing about this story actually is it turns out the mentor was actually a really horrible mentor. So actually did a really bad job. And I think it was Athena or somebody came and they disguised themselves as mentor, and that's when things started going good, right? But when I say you need a mentor to figure out the system to move these mountains, that's what I mean. Somebody who will do that for you. Somebody you can call at 3 a.m., they're gonna wake up, answer your questions, help you get what you need, right? One more video for you guys here.
I'm Stan Frencher. I'm the Medical Director for Surgical Outcomes and Quality here at Martin Luther King Community Hospital and an Assistant Professor at UCLA. I was brought here as a junior faculty member out of residency. For someone early in their career to have an opportunity to help open a new hospital in this community, that's an opportunity that I couldn't have ever imagined. There's 1.3 million people live in South Los Angeles. When I came here, there were 4 urologists. Here in what used to be called South Central LA, Compton, Watts, in large part it's still one of the most challenged communities in all of California. Being the urologist who's willing to practice here makes all the difference. I thought I was going to be a physician since I was about 5. And that's because of my dad. He still is a primary care physician in the inner city of Detroit, and he's been taking care of patients regardless of their ability to pay since as far as I can remember. I didn't see becoming a doctor as unattainable. I just saw it as something that my dad did for a living. I was fortunate to be surrounded by Black men who all became doctors. My uncle was a pediatrician. I thought it was just the norm growing up. Now I realize how much of an anomaly it was. I went to the University of Michigan where I majored in sociology and biology. When I got to medical school, I went to Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York. I matched at Yale, went into general surgery, and when I made my visit out to UCLA as a clinical scholar, I fell in love with Santa Monica, and so I chose to come here. Go back and help find some of the dates. There's been so many occasions when I've interacted with men who are in medical school who are seeing me as a physician in academics, and that's the first time they're interacting with a Black male physician. For many of us who decide to go into medicine, we have to figure out a way that we can give back and be an example and mentor those coming behind us. Clearly, there's a role for having more African American men in medicine to see that change. We need physicians who come from these various communities because we're the ones who are going to go back and practice in those communities in which we come from. I can't tell you the number of times that I take care of a patient here in the clinic who are I'm really glad to see brothers like you as doctors here in this hospital. Anytime I have a challenging day, I know I can go home and throw a few weights around. It relieves a ton of stress. Last year I competed in 3 competitions. I never thought in a million years I'd be able to deadlift 600 pounds or bench press over 300. In powerlifting, if you don't think you can lift it, you're done. Taking that same mindset to other things that I do is really important. I think one of my biggest fears over the years was failure. When I started out here, I really struggled to get through my board exam. And the struggle is something that seemingly everybody gets through so easily. It really challenged my sense of self-confidence in some ways. The biggest hurdle was to reach out and ask for help. We all experience it at some point. The key is you get knocked down, you get up, but you don't have to do it alone. I have 3 kids, and my wife, Michelle, is my rock and the person I depend on most. I hope I can be a good role model for them. And I hope that they figure out a way to use their talents to do what my dad taught me to do, was to help the least among us. When he would leave in the morning, he would always say the same refrain. I was like, "Yeah, Pops, where you headed?" He's like, "I'm going out to save lives and relieve suffering." If my kids could say that I was half as good as he is, I'd say that I've done well. I'm Stan Frencher, and I'm a black man in a white coat.
Dr. Frencher, a phenomenal gentleman, works in what used to be South Central. He said he had a purpose. He had a purpose. I love one thing he says in there is he says, something about lifting weights. He said, if you don't think you can do it, you're done. You're not going to do it. So this is my last question to you guys here. My last question. So, in your phones, your text message to self. Ty, have I accepted my greatness? Have I accepted my greatness? Here's what I believe. I believe that every single person has greatness in them. Every single person. That goes from the poorest person to the richest person. It goes from you to you to you to you. Everybody has greatness in them. But in order to do anything with that greatness, you have to accept that greatness. This gentleman right here played a huge role in my life in general, right? Not saying he played a big role in my parents or anything like that, but it was a turning point for me. So his name is Joel Wiggins. We moved down to Dallas about 10 years ago or so, and my buddy, Darius, we always live in Durham. My buddy Darius, he came down with Joel. He introduced me to Joel. So I'm at Joel's house. He's got this big old mansion house, and I'm walking around just thinking like, man, what are you doing with all this? How do you do this stuff? What kind of impact do you have on the world and such? And he just goes off telling me things about how, you can do great things in life, et cetera, et cetera. So we have dinner, and then we're leaving. I walk outside, and I'm walking outside to my car, and we're standing in front of this big old circle drive, and he just started asking me questions like, Dale, do you realize how great you are? And I'm like, what is this guy talking about, right? Because I'm not used to this, because again, they don't teach you stuff in med school, right? And this is not the stuff that you get in real life, right? Like, do you realize what you have? Do you realize what you can do? Do you realize how great you are? And I'm just thinking, this guy's crazy. I just met him. I have no idea what's going on here. He says, you know what, Dale? I don't think you realize this. I don't think that you can be great. I don't think that you realize you have permission to be great. And because you don't realize you have permission to be great, I'm going to give you permission to be great. Dale, you have permission to be great. He's just yelling at me. Nervous driving. What is it? How many people driving by and stuff like that? I think this guy's crazy here. But he literally yelled at me. He said, Dale, you have permission to be great. Something about that moment, it was palpable. I feel like the weight was lifted off my shoulders. Right? I feel like I could finally just breathe, like, wow, finally somebody said it, somebody gave it to me. And since that day, it's been on, right? Since that day, it's been on. All this stuff you guys see, the documentary, Black Men, these videos you're seeing, we host youth summits across the country. We did over 20 last year. All this stuff that we're doing is because at some point I needed somebody to let me know you're allowed to go do these great things you want to do. You don't have to stay in this box. You don't have to do you don't have to do it the same way everybody else is doing. You're allowed to do it the way you want to do it. But you got to go after it. I want to end with you guys believing that. So I want everybody to stand up. I'm going to get a little bit of energy, and then I'm going to hop off the stage. I'm going to get energy for you guys. I'm going to film y'all. Turn sideways so you can see all these people, beautiful faces. And I'm going to be the middle mark. That's what Michelle is. So Everybody on this side, when I raise my hand up, you guys are gonna, not say, you guys are gonna scream. And say, I have permission. We're gonna scream it. And when I go over here, you're gonna say, to be great, right? It's a competition, right? You're not gonna wake up, I know we just ate, just listen to me talk for an hour. We're gonna wake up here, all right? All right, so which side's gonna win? Which side's gonna win? All right. Let's get a practice round, then we're gonna go for real, all right? Pause, they're killing y'all right now. All right, so we're gonna do 3 times, this is the competition right here, all right? 3 times. And you're gonna say who wins, all right? Here we go, all right? Over here, let's go. Hey, I really appreciate you guys' time. One last thing, so like I said, I'm an author. Last thing, if you guys want a book, help me choose a better book cover for my book. Comes out in a couple months, you can QR it for the better book cover. I really appreciate you guys' time. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that I equipped you guys with something to take back and move mountains into institutions. Thank you.